All right, so today we are putting on our detective hats. We're heading out into the mangrove forests to solve a really fascinating botanical puzzle, the mystery of the Acanthus family. Now, this is a group of plants so ridiculously similar, they can leave even the experts totally stumped.
So, just take a look at this. Imagine you find these 3 leaves in a mangrove. To most of us, they look, well, almost identical, right? A little green, a little spiky. But hidden in those tiny, subtle differences are the identities of 3 completely separate species. This is the whole enigma. So the real question is, could you honestly tell them apart?
And I'm not exaggerating when I say they're similar. In fact, these plants are so alike that botanists sometimes just kind of throw their hands up and lump them all together as one single variable species. That's how tough this is. So our challenge today is to do what can sometimes stump the pros, figure out how to tell them apart, once and for all.
Okay, so before we start looking for what makes them different, we've got to understand what makes them family. You know, every good investigation has to start with a background check.
So all 3 of our suspects hang out in the same place, the soft, mucky mud of mangrove forests. They all grow into these thick shrubs, maybe about chest high. Their leaves are pretty simple and grow in pairs, opposite each other, on the stem. The spiny ones, we call those armed. And they all get these really beautiful spikes of flowers. This is their shared profile, their family resemblance, and it's exactly why they're so easy to get mixed up.
So now that we know the family traits, it is time to get out the magnifying glass. Let's start digging for that forensic evidence. You know, the crucial clues that are going to let us tell one from the other. Okay, our first big clue is their overall shape. You could call it their posture. So, 2 of our plants, Abractaturus and Ilicifolius, they stand up straight and tall. They're upright shrubs. But our third suspect, Acanthus volubilis, is totally different. It's a low-down, sprawling plant that sometimes even climbs up on other stuff. So boom, right away, one of our subjects has a completely different vibe.
Now let's zoom in on the stems. If you look at Abractatus and Ilicifolius, you'll see these thick, really stiff stems that have sharp spines protecting them. But then you look at volubilis, our sprawling suspect, and its stems are way more slender, and usually it's unarmed, which just means no spines. This is another massive piece of evidence that separates volubilis from the other 2.
So let's pull all these clues together. This is our investigator's field guide, our cheat sheet. We've pretty much already set volubilis apart, right? Because of its sprawling shape and spineless stems. So how in the world do we tell the other 2 apart? Well, the final clues are all in the leaves and the flowers. Abractatus has these deeply cut, spiny leaves and white flowers, but Ilicifolius has only slightly lobed leaves and, here's the smoking gun, it has these totally unique light blue flowers. Okay, we've gathered all our evidence, we've got it organized. Now it's time to build a definitive profile for each of our 3 suspects. Let's officially unmask them.
First up, we have Acanthus ebracteatus. The common name mangrove thistle kind of gives it away, doesn't it? The key thing to look for here are the leaves. They're dark green and deeply lobed with some really sharp spines. You put that together with its upright shape and its white flowers, and bam, its identity is unmistakable.
And our second suspect is Acanthus ilicifolius. Now, it shares that spiny nature and shrubby form with its cousin, but its leaves are a bit paler, more of a yellow-green, and they're only slightly lobed. But the real dead giveaway? It's the flowers. This is the only one of the 3 that has these beautiful light blue, almost purplish petals.
And last but not least, Acanthus volubilis. This one is our total outlier. Its leaves are usually smooth around the edges, none of those aggressive spines like the others. You add that to its thin, spineless stems and its unique, sprawling, climbing habit, and it's an open and shut case. Sure, it has white flowers like Abracteatus, but its whole form and its smooth leaves make it impossible to get wrong.
So, there we have it. We've solved the botanical puzzle. But who cares? Why does this even matter? Why is it so important to know which acanthus is which? Well, as it turns out, this goes way beyond just being able to name a plant.
And this is where the story gets really human. In the Philippines, local communities have very specific uses for these plants. For example, in a town called Otan, Iloilo, People will take the dried flowers, boil them, and drink the water to help with a cough. It's this incredible direct link between the plant and the people who live right there with it.
And that is exactly why our investigation matters. When you can correctly identify a plant, you're not just being a good botanist. You are actually preserving a connection to culture, to traditional medicine, and to the human stories that are all woven into the natural world. I mean, being able to tell blue flowers from white might literally be the difference between using the right plant for the right remedy.
So we did it. We cracked the case based on what we can see with our own eyes. But a final clue points to an even deeper, more complex puzzle: the need for more research into something called Acanthus ecogenetics. So while we may have solved the visual mystery, you have to wonder, what secrets do their genes hold? How are they really related? How did they adapt to be so similar yet so different? It seems the mystery is never truly over.